Life is not an accident. At least that is from one perception, one view from one mystics of Texas. My brother, on the other hand, seems to think that life is an accident. Well, we are going to dispel his notion. so,
Well, I think that we should leave it up to the audience that's watching this if they want to go with Team 1 Mystic or Team 2 Mystic over here and see which one goes better. Because I happen to think that there is no reason that life cannot be an accident.
all right, well, pray tell, sir.
All right, let's just start off with a simple example of we live out here on a farm. If you dig any pond and have it a large enough body of water to support life, you have all the right conditions for life. You have the water that's right there, the ground, and eventually something will happen and life will breed in that pond. You never have to put any fish in it, no turtles, nothing. But life will find a way to happen there. Nobody's going to put life there, but it will accidentally pop into existence. Anybody that's ever went brim fishing or just went to any old spot anywhere and seen that there's algae, there are toadstools, there's fungus, there's any manner of life that's out there. But when you initially dig it, it can be completely barren all the way around the pond and have a complete 10, 15 miles of emptiness. But once that pond is dug and the conditions are right for life, life will find a way to inhabit that pond.
Boy, this conversation can just split off in a million different directions from this. So, you say, if I understand your premise, that all life on this planet is accidental, so there is no consciousness.
No, there can be consciousness, and it can still be an accident. Life can still happen and have consciousness.
So does consciousness supersede the mind, or is the mind conscious?
See, that is one of those things that we cannot, at this point in time, have a direct answer for. But what we do know is we think and we can contemplate and we can have our own theories, thoughts, and ideas that happen within our head. And we know that happens in our head. We also know that we have influence on the world around us from thoughts and actions. If we want something bad enough, we will find a way to make it work. Now, is that a direct action of our consciousness imposing its will on our environment? Or is that some mix of our consciousness and our physical being working in tandem together to get that done?
Fascinating point. Rolling back around to life as an accident. I understand your premise that if you do have a body of water, especially out here on the farm or your ranch, you see life spring up all over the place. Because life, there are conditions for that to be so. Does that mean that a all-knowing creator just gave this planet, or who knows, sorry about that, or the trillions of planets, some of them having the optimal conditions for life as we know it, or life as we don't know it? We don't know. We can't see them all. But what this goes to, science now, not all science, but a lot of science, suggests we came from a Big Bang. There's a huge explosion that I like how Rupert Sheldrake says that we can explain everything as long as you give us one miracle, and the miracle being something ignites the Big Bang and something created the matter and the stuff there already. You can't explain it before. So if you give us one miracle, then I can explain everything else. That is, in a nutshell, what science currently believes for the most part. in a summary. So if there is no life in this ball of stuff, and it gets scattered in an explosion, hurling through this unknown. Maybe it's being created as we go. Maybe it's already there and it goes on forever, whatever forever is. We happen to create, or this planet happened to create the circumstances for life to begin. If the odds of that actually happening without some sort of divine intervention, some sort of grand plan, the odds are impossible. Like, so small they do not even exist. And everything has a blueprint before it is turned into life. Even the empty pond before. Just as Eastern philosophy has said, and that the PCR test with Carrie Mullis says, you can find anything and everything. All you have to do is amplify any one particular cell up enough, and you're going to find every single thing everywhere. And that's when he said, to paraphrase loosely, is that it helps bring Eastern philosophy together, in that they believe, I am everything. I am part of you. You are part of me. I'm part of this. I'm part of all of it. We are one and connected with everything. Science seems to have proven that. So can life spring up? Because there's already life there. There are already little blueprints. There are already seeds. Like, we just planted a bunch of watermelon and cantaloupe and all sorts of fruits and veggies a couple of weeks ago. Well, each one of those seeds is just a blueprint. It's nothing yet. It is the potentiality of life. So they're microscopic seeds everywhere. Just as you and I were microscopic seeds before our father was messing around. That's a fact. You couldn't see us. So we are, or were, microscopic and only a blueprint. Connect with the other blueprint, and all of a sudden we have a full set of plans that constitutes Trey and Kevin. Now, that act may have been a accident. Both of us may certainly be accidents. I know that is an interesting concept, to think that, all right, I call him Pops, my father. So Pops has sex with Mom on some random night. All of a sudden, random Kevin shows up. Maybe. Maybe that was the design, to have a bunch of random life, that all these little antennas, like our DNA is certainly like a antenna for receiving information. And there's a lot of scientific studies on this, that we've discussed it before, that the human body is akin to a radio or TV set. Like, we are a tuner. Our body is a something that can receive information. And I would say that's very true, just like we've said many times, that I always know, I don't always know, but they're more often than not, I know when you're going to call. Or the time I called and I said, I just feel that you're stressed out, so I needed to call you. Let you know, hey, don't be stressed out, dude. I got your back. The same sort of thing. We can feel and receive information. So is that all an accident?
Well, see, I think why could not it be an accident? Because we're talking now about the dominant species on planet Earth, humans. Well, we have a consciousness and we can impose our will on the world at large. But think about all the other species of life that exist on this planet that cannot do that.
But I beg to differ. There's scientific proof and observational facts that really have sprung up to the general population from the advent of everybody having cameras in their homes. For the security cameras, everybody checks their house from their phone, and it has become known to the public, because there's been tests even way before this, that dogs start to react when they know the parent is coming, or their master, if you will, is coming home. So before they even get to the driveway, before they even get there, the dog gets excited and starts going to wherever its normal place is to greet its owner.
You could account a lot of that for the Pavlovian effect. If you ring the bell for the dog to have food at a certain time, then it comes in. But even then, now you're still talking about two forms of life on Earth. When we have trillions of life on Earth that has been and is on Earth, then that definitely doesn't account for all the life forms that haven't been on Earth, like the elongated skulls, the giant skeletons. There's all these other forms of life that existed on Earth that are no longer here. We're not talking about blades of grass, which are life, have this extreme consciousness. All of these things, life can be an accident. Once you move past a certain degree and you develop a consciousness, that's just a slow form of evolution. I mean, we're talking about dogs being brought up from the beginning of mankind. Humans could not have existed and became the dominant species on Earth without the help of dogs. We captured dogs and we've tamed them and we used them for our will. They helped us hunt, they protected us, and they helped humans evolve to a point where we no longer needed dogs to survive, but we kept them around because we loved them. Now, as much contact and interaction as dogs have had through the years with humans, some of our feelings, emotion, our intuition, all these things have to rub off on these animals. But that is not a divine creator putting that innate thing into dogs. That's humans selectively breeding dogs for a purpose over tens of thousands of years, where we've developed this close relationship with this species.
All right. So you're saying that it is because they magically absorbed our energy somehow.
Well, you say magically, but when you want something and you want something to go your way, thoughts are things, and if you don't believe in it, it's not going to happen.
Absolutely. And that's why I believe in magical cigar smoke. It allows my thoughts and feelings and emotions and desires and dreams and love to go out into the universe. Totally agree with it. I do believe it. I like to refer to it as magic. So, magic. We're talking about dogs. You are saying that because they've been around humans, that now, without the routine of the same old time coming home, like, oh, I'm starting to get a little hungry now, it must be time for mom and dad, my owners, to come home. Total random times, not the Pavlovian concept of, we're going to ring the bell and, you start slobbering and all this thinking your food's fixing to come. Random times, the dog knows that the owner's coming home. It's starting to act, same attributes that it starts to show without knowing, without any signs of a regular interval, without any dings or any sort of behavioralist sort of training. Just naturally does it. That could be accident. It could be. Dogs are very emotional, it appears. I can't really talk to mine. I just know that they get jealous if I rub one more than the other. I know that they want to, especially the Great Danes, they want to come over and invade my space more than the other ones. It is absolutely possible that could be an accident. So well,
see, I don't think that's an accident. You're misinterpreting what I'm saying. I think the level of consciousness that dogs have is a direct result of them spending so much time with humans. They have been spending time and helping humans for at least 10,000 years that we know of.
I think science could explain it in such a way that things that we don't fully understand now the energy between humans, dogs, other animals, that there is some sort of transfer of information and energy that we don't fully understand, like telepathy, ESP, remote viewing. Now, could that just be a byproduct of the accident of life? Uh, possibly. Possibly. The accident that I find that I can't reconcile is that life itself on Earth is an accident. It is far too complex. I don't buy into the idea that one single amoeba evolved in so many different ways to create the varied life forms on Earth. I think that is such a remote possibility that it does not exist.
Let me give you this point. All the species of dogs that we have on Earth, it all started with one. It was a wolf. And we selectively bred them to have all these different kinds of dogs.
You think that. There's absolutely zero proof that we know that that's the case.
Well, even if you don't know that that's the case. So if you have all these dogs that have been bred, that we know that have been bred for a selective purpose. So maybe there was 5 or 6 different dogs. Maybe there's 5 or 6 different amoeba that happened to be here. And they used their environment and what was around them.
If that's the case, then where did it come from?
Well, because the way that this planet is set up, it's in the habitable life zone. It has the star that keeps us warm, but not too hot. We have liquid water on the planet. It spins at a nice angle. We have seasons. The conditions are right for life. And even the places that we think there could be no life, like thousands of feet deep in the ocean where light can't even permeate, we have life down there. And underwater vents where there's nothing but the hot water coming up, there's life down there. There's life everywhere on this planet. There's almost no place on Earth that is not just teeming with life because the conditions are right. We don't know that there's not other life on other planets because we haven't gone there and really investigated. There can be forms of life. If there is liquid water on a planet, the conditions could be right for life.
I interrupt you on that because there could be other forms of life that don't need oxygen. They don't need water. There could be, just beyond our understanding, other life forms that we just assume in our naturally arrogant.
So then why do we need a creator for that?
Mankind. I'm not saying that we do need a creator for that. I'm saying that there could be other life outside of, we have a habit, I think, as humans say, well, this is a habitable place to live. Well, any place could be habitable. We just don't understand the varied life forms that could exist, that who knows what gases they need or don't need. Who knows? But we don't know. All we know is that we live on this planet and this rock, and it is so intricate and so predetermined before you were born. Like Pop's accidentally having sex with Delette, and all of a sudden Trey pops out. You're not going to pop out as a chicken. You're not popping out as a blue whale.
Oh, no, we're not popping out as a chicken or a blue whale.
Right. So all of these, there is a lot of predetermined activity that cannot be an accident, even though it could be an accident. There's the paradox, because if blue whales having sex, they're not going to produce trays. So that there is a predetermined destiny along certain lines. So it becomes this really deep philosophical discussion that is never going to be the end of, except when you think of on those, if it's an accident, does that diminish the value of life? Does that diminish the value?
I think it makes it more valuable if it's an accident that we have life and all this is here. Just look at the wars of this planet Earth. You always hear the expression, oh, there's no atheist in foxholes. That's because atheists aren't dumb enough to go to war with somebody else for no reason. They're not going to sacrifice themselves because they get another chance in an afterlife. They know that this is the life that they get, so they're not going to squander it on petty little squabbles with their neighbor.
Well, now you're dumping atheists into a big bucket that is totally not true. There's plenty of psychopathic dictators that were atheists.
But they didn't go to war. They sent other people in their stead to go to war.
Yeah, they don't care about that.
They don't care about them, and they are perfectly happy, like Napoleon, to say that religion is a great tool to control the masses.
Well, for sure, and it is. Yeah, without a doubt. And I'm not saying anything about religion because...
No, I'm just saying that we don't necessarily have to think that there's a creator to say that life is special. As a matter of fact, if it's a supreme accident that we're here, I think it makes life more special.
You would think that it would. You would think that if there was, whether it is a divine creator or an accident, you only know that no matter what, on either or of those, you only have this amount of time and this body to exist. You will be transformed into something else, whether you like it or not, whether there is a afterlife of some type, whether you're reincarnated, whether you are astroplaning forever, who knows? Or if you just die and it goes dark and that's it. That makes this time even more precious. So it means that the communications between each other should be really focused upon, that we can communicate our thoughts and feelings and emotions and desires, love, everything. I agree with you. It enhances. But to the question of an accident, it is difficult for me to wrap my mind around the notion that the beginning of this universe, with everything set in motion as it is, could possibly not be planned. Because we're assuming that something happened from nothing, that we can't wrap our mind around that notion. Like nobody.
Which is a great point, because at some point down the line, something came from nothing. So if you say that we were created because that watch that's sitting on the ground had to have a watchmaker, okay, but then you have to have the creator for the creator. Or else, at some point down the line, no matter how far you go, something came from nothing. So if something had to come from nothing at some point, why couldn't it start here? Why does it have to be even more complicated because somebody had to design this whole system, this whole setup? We forget that we live in a universe with more stars in the visible universe than we can count, than grains of sand on every beach everywhere.
That's a fact, and it's fascinating.
So why couldn't that just be an accident? At some point, there had to be something from nothing.
Well, it could be just like some of the newer age philosophers that say, we're in some holographic video game. It is something to consider, because no matter if we're in a holographic video game or if we're in some grand design, we do have those questions of who created God. If the universe expands and it goes into this circular motion, well, then what's outside of it? If it keeps going straight, it has to run into something. But if it does, then what's on the other side? So there are always these questions that the minds of man cannot conceive, and I think that is the point. I think the point is it is magic. Like when you discover the magic trick, it's no longer magic. So whenever you see how David Copperfield somehow hides the Statue of Liberty or makes a big plane disappear, when you understand the magic, well, it's no longer magic. Can the minds of man ever figure out what happened before the Big Bang? And there are a lot of people that say there was never such thing as the Big Bang. The consensus is that we started from that, but that does bring up the whole the whole question of, well, what was it before?
It's interesting where you keep bringing up the Big Bang because you think that it's impossible that we started from a single amoeba. Well, if you go to the theory and subscribe to the theory of the Big Bang, there was a single point of origin where all of the material that's in the universe was condensed into a space so small that it would take up about the size of an atom. It was super dense material, and then it, boom, shot out into the world. So the universe itself, if you subscribe to the Big Bang Theory, it started from a singularity point. So it started from a single point. So why cannot life start from a single point?
I'm not saying that it can't. I'm saying that the notion that, and I'm not disputing the Big Bang. I'm not saying that did not happen. I'm saying I don't know.
We definitely, no one actually knows.
I don't know. I like to contemplate and think of the accident portion that is the focus of what we're talking about. No matter if it was a Big Bang or was something else that we don't yet understand. And we don't understand the Big Bang either. So if something else happened, the Big Bang is great because if it did happen that way, it was a singular point, and we can say with I think a pretty accurate degree of certainty that all of the stuff, the matter in the known universe, if it was all condensed, all the space taken out of it would go into a little bitty box, which is kind of hard for us to wrap our mind around. Because you would think, well, I can't burn this desk and even put, ashes into a little box. So how in the world could the whole world, much less everything else, fit into a small thing? But then you have to go into, well, there's so much space between atoms, the neutron and electron. I mean, if you're magnified and put it down on a level that we could understand, it'd be like the nucleus and a protein, is like, no, the proton is somewhere, way Marshall or, miles away. It's crazy, the distance. So everything is space, and then everything is infinite. We're looking at life and how we see it from the perception of, a little over 6 foot tall guy made up by a bunch of space, clumped together, vibrating around, and all these cells doing all these things that I can't see or know of in order for me to breathe, sometimes unconsciously, sometimes consciously, for me to live. Seems pretty amazing. Seems pretty amazing that we're not something else. So I guess us not being something else has to do partially with not being an accident. Has something to do with, all right, maybe it was all an accident, but now it can't be an accident that I'm a human because this was the course that was set on. It's an interesting proposition, but I certainly find it damn near impossible to wrap my mind around that everything works in its energy in conjunction with each other. How does that happen? Science can't explain it. We do know now, and it is measurable, that my energy is radiant. You can actually, there's machines that can see the radiant aura about a person and how it's and what kind of actual shape it's in, and how that changes and interacts with another human's energy when it's connected, and then, or not connected but near each other. Same with water and intent, with just wishing that, God, water, I really am appreciative of you, and then you put that under a microscope and it changes its molecular structure. It's pretty amazing. That is amazing that all of that would actually be an accident, that because we are separate even though I'm mostly water. So my water somehow can tell this other pile of water that is not life as we know it. We don't understand water to be life. It's just water. But I can change its molecular structure just with my thought. And that's a proven fact. That's a strange notion to think that there is some sort of divine plan that the minds of men cannot wrap their minds around. That it's so impossible. It's so in depth and on purpose. I don't think man is really designed to know. I think that from what I have heard, that various psychedelics and mushrooms and those kind of things help add a whole different perspective on the notion of time and space and the interconnectivity of all things. So is all of that an accident? Does life intermingle in such a way and become so dependent and non-dependent on various life forms that it could all be an accident? You say yes.
Yeah, of course I say yes. I mean, we're talking about blueprints of things that will become. We often forget that we think, oh, our parents made us, but that was really a shot in the dark that we got us instead of something else. You have siblings, and they are nothing like you. I have siblings that's nothing like me. Everyone out there has siblings, and they're completely different. Like, in almost every way, night and day differences. And it still had the same two base materials that made it, because there's millions of sperm that go in there to try to find this egg. So the fact that you just got here in itself is a cosmic accident.
Yeah, I understand that. I understand your analogy or your thought process there. But that is the notion of survival. Like you're going to throw enough crap on the wall that something's going to stick. So it doesn't matter if it was the actual me that my little sperm, when I'm just swimming as fast as I can up there trying to hang out with the other cute little egg. You know, I don't want to get her. That and all that big race that is an accident for sure. But the whole act of that happening, no matter which little sperm actually won the race, the same thing happens. It's not going to be a blue whale.
Well, no, it's not going to be a blue whale.
It's not going to be a blue whale.
Because if you get all the material and the plans to build a birdhouse, you're not going to come out with a cruise ship.
And I think it goes deeper into this question of accident of what is free will, and so if you have what is destiny, because there is some things that are destined to be, like in that accident of a big bunch of sperm going to get an egg. One side of that accident is destiny already happened. The destiny of that is it's going to be you're creating a child from those blueprints that they collided. You had an accident.
See, I think that's...
But that accident also creates destiny.
I don't know if that creates destiny. I think we want that to create destiny, but every time one has an egg and sperm together, it doesn't always work. So any failed pregnancy cannot be destiny.
You're right with that. But I'm talking about the accident of that coming together. If it creates life, and it can only create one specific life form. It can only be a human. So in that accident, if anything is created that lives, it can only be a human. So that is a predetermined destiny within an accident.
Well, it's not necessarily a predetermined destiny. It's just if you go to the store and you buy all the materials to cook tacos, you're not going to come out with anything other than tacos. It might look and resemble something kind of weird or look different, but you're going to get tacos because you have the ingredients for that. You're not going to make tacos and get all the ingredients for tacos and you put it in the oven and a cake comes out because the ingredients aren't right. With humans, you're going to make a human or you're going to make a blue whale because the ingredients are right. You only have the ingredients and you're putting the ingredients in the oven.
That is not a good analogy for me, because what is in a blue whale or what is in a pig or what is in a dog,
But
it's all the same.
it's all the same.
It's all the same everything. So if you take all the ingredients in my human body and you can just scrounge them up, out here in the dirt, out on this farm, you can take all the ingredients that are human, stick them in a pile. That doesn't make it human. I can go stick it in the oven and I still don't have a human. I still got a pile of dirt.
No, that doesn't make anything other than that pile of dirt. But if you want to go down that road, all the material that's used to make a blue whale and a human are so close to the same.
That's right. That's what I'm getting at.
We're extremely close. But we put it together in a certain order, in a certain way. The structures of the materials are different. Just like the structures of the materials and the ingredients, they're just different. But it's all made out of the same base material. All the elements, yes, if you throw them in an oven, it doesn't work like that. You can't create life from that.
Which goes to the notion of we're taking accidents, and if you put these accidents in a certain scenario, they are predetermined to be a certain thing.
Yeah, because they're
right. So which is predetermination is a destiny. It is a form of destiny. So destiny has to go in that direction.
But that would mean that 99.999 several zeros out, destiny never happens.
Yes.
There's millions of sperm, and there's, say, I don't exactly know how many eggs women hold in their lifetime, but let's just say you have those chances of all the eggs and all the sperm. 99.9% of the time, nothing ever happens.
Which is exactly right. So I'm starting through this debate, or really conversation, is something that has always been inside of me, that I've felt that life is both an accident, but at the same time very predetermined, which is very hard to wrap your mind around. Like we are designed to have free will. We're designed to want to exercise our own curiosities, even though they get squashed and demonized and what have you. We know the whole set of circumstances around that. But if there's a mixture, like old Forrest Gump says, it could be both. It could be both. It could be, which it seems to be, that it is, well, it doesn't seem to be. There is design in everything. There's Fibonacci numbers in everywhere.
But don't your Fibonacci numbers lead to more of a point of an accident? If all these things have this certain numbers that come into common, then that's just the number sequence that's needed to create it. That makes it more of an accident than more of a design.
I would say absolutely not. Where do you get the numbers from? Where did all of nature just all of a sudden randomly pick out, oh, well, we just need that, and if we get that, then everything else works?
Because those are the conditions for life. It needs
They're the conditions of life, how humans understand it.
Yeah, but that's how we understand it. And we know that these numbers are in all these different things. So instead of thinking, oh, well, that's the creator doing that, why can't it just be, oh, well, that's the accidental code that you need to create. Without that code, you can't create. Without this strict set of numbers and circumstances, life doesn't happen. That doesn't make it more or less of an accident. It's just that it needs this to happen. It needs water to happen. You need water for life as we know it. We need these number sequences, these Fibonacci numbers, to create life. That makes it more of an accident than less of an accident, because then you have more of these accidents that add up to this number sequence means that you don't need a creator. You found the number sequence. You need these gods when you don't know how things are put together. There's always this
No, no,
God
no.
part.
I agree. I agree with you on that. People have made up gods to justify all these different things that we can't explain. That's just a fact.
So now we know these Fibonacci sequences, then you can remove
But
these
see, I'm on
gods.
the totally opposite belief system of that. I believe that having these numbers and these plans and all things and all these perfect separations and interesting in quantum entanglements and all these other fascinating things that are very set in a very blueprint type way. Even if the sperm doesn't make it, it's still a set of prints. It's still wanting to be something, and then it falls away. It didn't make it. Not necessarily survival of the fittest, but whatever sperm got there, he survived. It it lends credence, just as you say. It is not, or proves your point. To me, it absolutely makes my point valid to me. Like, I don't see how in the world that my mind cannot wrap itself around the notion of this not being set in motion by something that we cannot fathom. Like, there is a force, and there's a force that I have experienced, and whether that is because we are all a slice of divinity, we are all slices of this consciousness, and this consciousness allows our thoughts to become things that I can actually feel and think, that I can actually and have done remote viewing, which is still weirds me out in a way because I don't get it, I don't understand it, but it happens. I've had countless clairvoyant moments throughout my entire life. There's countless. How do you explain that? Where does that come from? Is it something that's very provable? These little Fibonacci sequences whirling through the space and some kind of thing we don't understand that comes into the antennas of my DNA? Yeah. Maybe it's all just random. Maybe all that's just random nonsense. Nonsense that still is measurable. You've seen it.
It doesn't have to be random or nonsensical. Think about especially the remote viewing experiences or the times that you are close to somebody and you know they're going to call. Like us, for example, we spend quite a bit of time around each other. As we know, if we have the special equipment to see all this dust floating in the air, when I do this, I'm going to scrape off my skin and it's going to go into the air. As I breathe, I'm releasing air, oxygen, and water from my body. It's going to go through this room and it's going to get picked up into your body. So now some essence of me is now connected with you. And now all of what we're made out of is cells, DNA, all these little small microscopic particles. When you break down what a human is, there's more that is not us in our body and on our body than is us. So if I'm constantly throwing my essence over to you and you're throwing your essence to me, it's just like when you take those two plates of water and you put the electric shock to them, they bridge to each other. Our electrical impulses, we know that our mind and our hearts are electric machines that are constantly putting out, sending and receiving data. Well, now you have so much of me and you, and vice versa. So now we're connected on a molecular level. So it goes back and forth. It doesn't need a creator. From what we know in modern science, just the air that we're breathing and sharing, we're becoming connected on a level that most people can't fathom or understand. So when you start to have these ideas of, oh, Kevin's in trouble or Trey's in trouble, when you really start to think about it and break it down from how much we actually share, not just from the thoughts and emotions that we've shared, but our physical being has came into contact with one another over several years. We have a baseline. So now there is part of my consciousness that you take a part of, because as your skin's coming in to me through this air, the water, I have a part of your essence that is in my consciousness. So we, on some minute level, share a consciousness.
I love all of those points, and there's no way to not agree with them because that is just a fact. And I would want to agree with them even if I had some doubts about that. I would be naturally inclined to go, all right, that makes some sense, even if I thought maybe it was kind of BS. Just because there's that affection, like, yeah, of course I'm part of my brother. Stupid, don't say otherwise. I mean, and you're right. You don't necessarily have to have a a divine creator for that. It to me seems like that a grand creator, like we are the creators. We are the creators of all of these things. We're the creators of our own thoughts to a degree. Even though we are not our thoughts, sometimes I have random thoughts. I don't know where they came from, how they came there. Who knows? I could have gotten it from any number of propaganda things that I never knew I was introduced to or never thought about it. Like, why would I still like root beer? Because root, even though I don't ever drink it, is somebody. I think it was my grandpa. I just have fond memories of a kid with root beer. So you still like those things, but does that all the little bitty things that get stuffed in your head? That doesn't mean that those things are you. And you still have the power of free will, even though a lot of things are an accident. And we're going on the assumption that, or you are with your beliefs, that because it started off something really tiny, it spread off and created, and it just steadily evolved and evolved and evolved and evolved into all these different species, all these different plants, and of course plants have feelings. That has been measured. Plants radiate this screaming type frequency whenever they are getting cut down or clipped, and they measurably are different whenever you talk to them and appreciate them, tell them that you're happy that they're growing, because I've done that experiment on the farm many, many, many times. So gratitude and love and appreciation and intent of positivity makes a big, big difference on plants and how they grow. It makes a big difference on humans whenever you express love and gratitude to somebody else versus the opposite. Some people are totally adverse to. It's like good and bad. The yin and yang is basically what it is. You give out that love, and it makes a positive difference. You give out hate, and it makes that same notion. Oh, sorry about that. So if was that all random? The notion of good and bad, was that just something that evolved? Do plants just pick up on good vibes because?
Well, think about it like this: humans have been on Earth for thousands of years. Until very recently,
Probably longer.
probably longer, and we have died and been put back into the soil. Until very recently, where we've had these casks and vaults that have been created. But you as a person are going into the soil. Just like I said, with us transferring energy, because we have now got part of each other from the air we breathe. When your body goes back into the soil, then that soil now has essences of you. We don't know how long these things stick around. So we have this patch of grass or a flower that sprouts up. We have a bee that pollinates and takes another part of that tiny particle and moves it farther. And so all the times that anyone has died and is going into the ground, it's nourishing the ground and it's bringing life. And that life is either being eaten by another animal and then excreted and moved. And it's just that small sense of what made us us, transferring throughout eternity, where we started from this base premise and we're building and building and building. So the way that plants can see and feel human emotions is because at one time they did have humans' emotions because we were those plants at some distant point in the past and in the future.
Well, see, I've equated that. I've never thought of it as being the soil, though. I've always considered water because water has been proven in recent discoveries to actually have memory, and water. There's never been more or less water than there is on the earth right now. It's always been the same amount. Anybody that says anything else to you does not know what they're talking about. That doesn't mean that the water. There's been other times in the world where the water was cleaner, better, and happier. That is a fact. So the water, it comes out of me nonstop every day, and out of everybody else, and out of all animals, goes all spreads around the world. Primarily in these bigger cities, our water is just angry. Our water is going through these pipes, and it's going full of all of the drugs that everyone takes, and gets flushed down the toilet to go get pissed off again, to go regenerate back into the same cycle non-stop. We're just a non-stop tornado of water. Everybody is. And so that does illustrate another way that we are connected as a not only human but connected to everything, because the same water that grew that fruit tree over there also was a part of me. Now, granted, I'm not going to absorb all of the water in the entire world in my lifetime, but it's certainly going to be a good chunk of it. From every shower where the water's going over my largest organ, which is skin, uh, from all the things that we drink and eat that have to have water to be made. That is an instantaneous transfer of something that was in me and a part of me, and now in a very short time can be in someone else. And if you live in a city, it's the next day. It's nonstop. That doesn't mean you have to have a creator for that. It just illustrates the point that we are all connected, whether you like that or not. So whatever you are taking, as if you're some crackhead, or you are as most people are, they have to take ailments for blood pressure. They have to take ailments for joint pains. They got to take ailments, take medicine for everything. Depression that makes you more depressed, that makes you less human. All of these things get excreted into the water, and then the next day you turn on your tap water and you're getting that. All of that, which is a problem. You don't need a creator for any of that to understand how we're connected just in that way, being on this planet. But it does make you think, at least it makes me think, that this is it's like here it is, guys. Here's this plan. You all go have fun. Here it is. Figure it out the best way you can. And then, of course, humans and our societal constructs that we've created, which are insanity, could be all an accident. It could be an accident. Did it start as an accident? And because you have these predetermined destinies all over the place that are unavoidable. You can't say that shooting sperm inside your wife is not going to cause her to get pregnant if it matches up right and the conditions are right, that she has the kid. It's going to be another human. So there are predetermined destinies. It would be a predetermined destiny if that kid's going to receive a lot of love if it grows up in your house. But it could be an accident where you die in a car wreck tomorrow and now the kid's an orphan. So that could be an accident. Or maybe it was a plan to test them out. Who knows? I do know that whenever I contemplate on and meditate on something, which goes into the power of thoughts, is that it manifests itself. Like, just like yesterday, I had a good intent about going to meet government people that I am not fans of. I had this notion of, okay, all right, universe, all right, allow me not to be irritated by government bureaucrats that naturally make me feel repulsive and make my skin want to jump off of me. Like, I didn't ask for it, but I felt it. There was like some sort of words that were used that were not words. Like, give me that strength, or allow me to use my own strength. Maybe I'm talking to myself. Either way, it worked. It worked for them. They changed their attitude. They had a whole different attitude because maybe my attitude was different. Energy was different. So are any of those powers, they're just evolutionary creatures of accident. So everything is an accident. And nothing, which would go to the point of, if everything is an accident or everything is not an accident, I think the conclusion is the same. We only have the moments we have. We don't know what they will be. So we better love well, and love well, which encompasses a lot of stuff. You know, that means you have to respect yourself, respect your mind, respect your body, respect and love the people around you. Allow people to exercise their own mental constructs and go about life the best way they can, so long as it doesn't interfere with the natural rights of their neighbors. What say you?
Well, I was really trying to encompass all that what you said there, and I really like the ending is we don't know. There's no way to possibly prove anything until you die, and then you can't tell anybody about it. So you might as well just live the best life you can, have as much fun as you can, be respectful of others and other people's boundaries, and you really only need one rule of life to live like that. Do to others as you would have them do to you. Don't be anything other than what you want somebody else to be to you. You just have a much better life that way. And you don't need all the books full of propaganda and war, hate, and destruction. You don't need that.
No, and I think that it goes down to one of the basic tenets of what we do here on Sundays, is that we delve inside of ourselves to find the answers. And ourselves may not give us maybe it will give us the answers that we need at that moment. But everything is inside of ourselves. Just like I would like to refer to Carrie Mullis, everything is in everything. All you have to do is amplify it enough and you can find everything in everything. So we are all connected and we're all separate at the same time. And all we can do is be the best we can be in all aspects of life and in moderation, and take care of ourselves in such a way that it may hopefully extend our days, and that we may impart good energies onto others, and in the same token have that rebound back on us. And at the end of the day, that's the best we can do.
Yeah. Well, I hope everyone out there enjoyed the conversation as much as we did making it. You can check us out on all the alternatives, Rumble, BitChute, Odyssey. You get the picture, and have a good day.